So, it's the very last day here in September, and it's 9 o'clock at night. But when you watch this, hopefully I'll have uploaded it before 9 o'clock. I know I'm a bit rubbish. Sorry. And it'll be the middle of November. It'll actually be my dad's birthday. Happy birthday, Dad. So I'm still rolling. I'm still going. This crazy train of interviews and chatting and editing, and I love it. And I'm so grateful and thankful for everybody who's got on board with it, and for all of you for watching. Thank you so much. And if you haven't done so already, I don't know why you wouldn't have, but please make sure that you like and subscribe and click the little bell. Thank you. Next guest is somebody very cool, and I'm so pleased that I got to meet her. One of the other reasons why I'm interviewing at 9 o'clock at night, because I'm going all the way to New York again. This is my interview with the fabulous musical theatre performer that is Kirsten Scott. Take a listen.
Okay, so my first question for you is, do you remember your first musical or theatrical experience?
Yes. Probably my first theatrical experience would be when I was a kid. I was a dancer first, and so I did the Nutcracker every year. And I remember with like your dance school, you go from like being like a rabbit to like a kid under the Christmas tree to like and then you like get to graduate. And I was Clara one year. But that was like my first theatrical experience because that's a piece of theater. But my first, musical proper was The Wizard of Oz, and I did it when I was 13. I took like a summer musical theater camp and had no idea what I was getting into because I was a dancer and I was like, oh, this is fun. I really do love to sing, and let me just try my hand out at it. And it happened to be fruitful, and I got a part as a man. I played like the Emerald City Guard, so I had to wear like a mustache and put all my hair in like a top hat because of course, like as a kid I had like hair down to here, and I was like, I'm not going to cut my hair for this role. And it was extraordinary because I just felt so alive and so centered, and all of a sudden I was like, oh, this is kind of it for me. And I was young, I was 13, but I it really stuck with me, and then I continued and made it my career.
Wow, amazing. It's
Yeah.
weird, isn't it, how like one little moment kind of changes.
Well, it can change the trajectory so quickly, and it's really extraordinary. And especially, I know you work with children, and it's really incredible to see, because to see kids have those moments. Because I teach a little bit, and when you see something like spark in a child, you're like, oh my gosh, I remember that moment when something inside of me was like,
Yeah.
oh, this is what I want to do. Yeah, it's really
I
cool.
know it is amazing. It is, because so many of my kids are like, I want to be a doctor, or I want to be a midwife, or I want to be, and that's what they want to do. And then like they'll go on the stage and they'll perform, and they're like, oh, I've got the bug.
I You bit me. Yeah, it's so true. Once I actually, this is so silly, but because shows are all canceled right now, a lot of actors are on like unemployment, and I had to call New York State unemployment today to try to figure out my claim and see when it ends and everything like that. And the guy on the other end of the phone was like, making small talk and was like, oh, what do you do? I was like, oh, I was an actor. I am an actor. And my show got, shut down. And he's like, what show? And I told him the show. And then he's like, oh, I think I know that one. He's like, I used to act. And he's like, I think it helped me to be a better call center guy, because if I don't know an answer, he's like, I'm really good at stalling and I'm really good at talking to people. And I was like, it's so true. I
Yeah,
mean, I feel like actors make good lawyers. They probably
yeah,
make good doctors. I had a friend that was
yeah.
going to be a doctor who was an actor first. And because it humanizes you, and it gives you a
Yeah,
sense of empathy, and
it does.
you can
Yeah.
kind of jump into someone else's skin and understand another point of view. It's a very helpful tool, I think.
Yeah, and also like confidence, just bare bones of confidence.
Absolutely. That's what the guy on the phone at unemployment, that's what he said. He's like, I started doing drama in my high school because I was really afraid to get up and do presentations in class. And so he said, I started to do that, and then I became more confident. And it's so true. Yeah.
It is. It is. It's
So many
amazing.
life skills.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, right?
So many of the parents say to me, like, I'm just so thankful that, like, and friendships and like, like compassion and just so much of things that like you just don't get taught in school. you know.
I do believe when I teach kids, I'm forming like good young humans. Like I'm teaching them tools that would not otherwise be taught to them that are really essential to being an adult and being like a good human in this world. And they're so simple. Like anyone could teach them, but it's just they just mold into, you know, what we do for theater. And
absolutely. So growing up, who were your musical influences?
Oh my gosh. Well, Whitney Houston. My dad. So I grew up in like the 80s and 90s, and I had the Bodyguard soundtrack. Like my dad liked to play it in his car. Oh my gosh, that soundtrack is beyond. But so I would sing along to her because she's a genius. So I would listen to her a lot. But then when it came to like musical theater, I became obsessed with Sutton Foster and the soundtrack of Thoroughly Modern Millie.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
And I became very obsessed with her. And then of course, who else? I would go, I really like to listen to, I mean, my dad traveled to London a lot for business. So I also grew up on like a lot of Andrew Lloyd Webber, but those like I feel like the actresses that sang in those soundtracks were not as kind of iconic as the American musical theater actresses that I kind of knew. So of course, like I listened to like Patti LuPone and like Idina Menzel and Sutton Foster and like all these big names, but I remember the Lloyd Webber soundtracks were kind of like what I cut my teeth on first for musical theater.
Amazing because that's so funny. Like I've spoken to so many people in different places, and like a lot of people go, oh, I didn't do Andrew Lloyd Webber until like a lot later. So that's so cool that you did when you were younger.
Like because my dad, it's so funny, he really liked to listen to musical theater soundtracks, and so he would go and have business in London and usually see a show or like an opera with his colleagues, and then he would, like, whatever show he saw, he would bring the soundtrack back and then we'd listen to it in his car. And so I, you know, like in the B Andrew Lloyd Webber, like the aspects of love and like the weird shows that like not a lot of people know, oh my gosh, I would listen to. Yep.
Amazing. I love that. So if you could duet with anyone across any genre of music, who do you think you'd love to duet with?
Really good question. Okay. Have you listened to, okay, I have two, okay, I'm gonna name drop for a second because whatever, it's COVID. I did Big Fish with Norbert Leo Butz, who I think has one of the most incredible musical theater voices. It's so unique. His range is extraordinary. And in that show, I didn't sing like a full-on duet with him, but we had little back and forth duet stuff, which was, you know, every night I feel like I was like, oh my gosh, I'm singing with Norbert Leo Butz. So I would have said him, but I've already been able to do that. So I'm going to say, the two people that came to mind were Brian Darcy James, but I also did a workshop with him, so I got to sing with him. Wow. But I was gonna say Stephen Pasquale, who I don't know if you've ever listened to like the Bridges of Madison County soundtrack, or I first fell in love with his voice when an ex-boyfriend of mine in summer musical theater camp made me like a mix of musical theater songs, and he put The Streets of Dublin on it. I don't know if you've ever heard that song. It's from a very like lesser known show by Ahrens and Flaherty, who wrote, of course, like Ragtime and Once on This Island. Yeah. It's called, oh my gosh, A Man of No Importance, and it starred Roger Rees and Stephen Pasquale. And Stephen Pasquale sings this song called The Streets of Dublin, and it is an epic song, and it's joyous, and it's kind of rough, and it's gritty, and it's like so manly.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go with him. That one. Yep.
That's brilliant. So have you had a favourite role that you've played, or one that you hope to play in the future?
Speaking of Ahrens and Flaherty, a couple summers ago, I had the chance to play Mother in Ragtime. And of course, you're going to ask, like, you're so young, how did you play that role? And thank you.
Yeah.
Because right now, I mean, currently, I'm not working because Broadway shut down, but currently I'm playing Sherrie in Rock of Ages, who's like 20, 18. So it's like, you know, but I played Mother a couple summers ago, and it was It's an extraordinary role because she gets to she has a huge arc in the show. She goes from kind of like sheltered turn of the century wife who kind of doesn't have a voice in her home, doesn't really have a say where her life is going, to kind of taking the reins of her life and changing it for the better and realizing that she is worthy of having a voice and making decisions on her own.
Yeah.
And she realizes like her backbone and her moral integrity is so strong. And it's such, the score is so sweeping, and you get to sing that iconic song Back to Before. And
Beautiful.
the amazing director who I got to work with, Seth, he staged it very close to like the original, how it was staged on Broadway. And I wore actually some of the costumes from tour and Broadway. So I had like the ghosts of the mother's past kind of like on me. And the way it was staged is it's at the kind of the lip of the ocean, and you're on the beach, and it's barefoot, and your hair, which has been like in a turn of the century like updo, is finally let down for the first time. And I am like giving myself chills just even thinking of it. It's just such a fantastic song, and to sing that song and to play that role. And that show actually also happened when an event in the States, now known as Charlottesville, happened, where there's this terrible riot that a woman got killed when white supremacists and people who were trying to protest against the white supremacists kind of came to a head. And this awful thing happened, and a woman who was counter-protesting the white supremacists got killed. And it was kind of this reckoning for our country of how we think we've come so far in our fight against racism, but we really haven't. We've just scratched the surface.
Yeah.
So it was really important to be doing that show at that time, because we all felt like we had a mission, and we were like now charged to kind of tell the story that we thought was so important. So I'm gonna go with that role. I've gotten to play some incredible roles in the past, but that one has really stuck with me. And I hope, because I got to do it kind of like on the younger end of my leading lady range, I hope I get to do it again, and I think I will.
That would be amazing. Like you say, it's such a poignant character, and like many characters go on a journey throughout the show. I mean, like that's just what happens in most shows, right? But that one particularly, like she goes on such a like it's almost like a 360, It
really is. She and it's and to get to play that and to have that needy kind of and that the book is so good too. Like it's it was like all the elements came together with that show. So yeah.
Amazing. What about performance venue? Has there been a venue that's really stuck with you?
Yeah, two actually. I'm gonna say, I got to, when I was right out of college, I was performing with symphonies, and there was this very famous conductor. Oh my gosh, named Eric Kunzel. He was the conductor of the Cincinnati Pops. He was very well known. He was an incredible conductor and orchestrator and musician. He was just a great guy. And they came to my college, and they were looking for young singers to kind of do some symphony work and do like Broadway type shows, or Broadway type of concerts. And I somehow got hired, and I got to perform in this outdoor venue in upstate New York called SPAC, which is the Saratoga Performing Arts Center. And it's this beautiful outdoor center. It's where like the New York City Ballet goes for their summer, and they do shows there. And it's in the midst of this gorgeous like park, and there's pine trees everywhere, and it's like thousands of people can come because there's seats, but then there's also like a field, so you can come and bring a picnic. And it just was so cool to be outside. And because you're so, theaters, you're used to being like this dark theater. Yeah. But it was really, really cool to be outdoors in the elements in the summer, and to feel, it was hot. I do remember that. I do remember like sweating. I was like, okay, like a little bit warmer than, no air conditioning. But it was really fantastic. So I'm going to say that. And also, I've now got to do 2 shows at the Kennedy Center, which is in Washington, D.C. It's this beautiful, it's this iconic place for the performing arts, and they have it's where they do the Kennedy Center Honors every year, and they have a couple theaters within the Kennedy Center, and I got to perform at the Eisenhower, right? I think that I did the Eisenhower both times, because I don't think I've ever been in the Opera House. Yeah, I got to perform in the Eisenhower, and it was just it's incredible to think of like the presidents and the
Yeah.
people who come before you and sat in those seats, and
Yeah.
it's also the staff there is top notch. They're so kind, and I remembered some of them. They remember some of me, like the dressers and the sound people, and it was really cool to like come back and feel like you had like a family. I was like, I know this place.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna say those two.
Amazing, amazing. So we've touched a little bit about the roles and things that you've played before. So talk us through your career so far.
Oof. I don't want to sound. I'll try. I went to so I in high school I decided I really wanted to pursue this. So I auditioned at a ton of schools all over the country, in the States, and I got into a bunch, but I really kind of had my eye on a couple. And then I decided I wanted to go to Carnegie Mellon because they have a really strong acting program. And my thought was, as wonderful as of a dancer as I was, and as great of a singer as I was, when you get older, your bones start to you can't dance as well as you can. Although Cheetah Rivera is still dancing, but
Yeah.
you dance to the degree that you always danced when you were younger.
Yeah.
And your voice will change a lot as you get older. So I was like, I wasn't a very strong actor, and I said, I think I need that third thing to have the longevity in my career. And I was at the time curious about TV and film because I had never really done much of it. I dabbled a little bit as a kid, but I'd never really done much of that. So I was like, I really want to have a strong acting base, and I think that's important. So I went to Carnegie Mellon. I graduated after 4 years. I got an agent. I moved to New York, and I was very lucky. My first year out of college, a couple of months, I graduated in May, and then in October, I booked the Broadway show Hairspray. And I kind of had like a history with Hairspray. I auditioned when I was in high school, and I actually got a call back. I actually booked it when I was at Carnegie Mellon, and I decided to turn it down because I was in school, and I had kind of already drank the Kool-Aid and was like, I need to stay here. No, I realized that I wanted to continue my education, and it was, and I feel like I'd already gone this far. I was like, I need to keep going. And so I was lucky enough that when I graduated, that same part was available, and I booked it. It was like the universe was like, well done. You made the right decision, which never happens. You're always like left wondering. I know, you're always like, did I make the right decision? So I was very lucky in that respect, because a lot of our business is luck. I happened to be in the right place at the right time. The role opened up, and I was in New York. So I went into Hairspray for about a year, which was my Broadway debut, which was an extraordinary Broadway debut because that show is nothing but love and joy and fun and like sugary, sweet songs. And it's also a show. So I did that for about a year. And then I left, and I did a new show out of town in LA called Minsky's that was supposed to come into Broadway. Unfortunately, the economy crashed, and we kind of decided they decided not to go to Broadway. So we continued to like the workshops, and they were hoping to bring it in, but it just kind of never happened, which made me really sad. But I did a bunch of regional gigs, and I did an off-Broadway show called The Marvelous Wonderettes. And then I got married, which was great. And then I did a couple more regional gigs, and then I booked a revival of Stephen Sondheim's Follies on Broadway, which started at the Kennedy Center. So I went to the Kennedy Center, and then when we were at the Kennedy Center, it was such a big success that they were like, "We're going to Broadway," which for me was, I was doing a show. It was mind you, it was a revival, but I was not replacing anyone. I had been with the production. We were going to record a cast album, so I got to do my first ever cast album, which was remarkable.
So cool.
And I got to work with Stephen Sondheim. I mean, I got to sit in a room with him, and he watched me, do things, and we got notes. I remember the day we were recording the album. I mean, first of all, like, we're recording the album, so my heart is like jumping out of my chest. But then you look into the booth, like the booth with everyone, with our conductor and Stephen Sondheim sitting there with like, which this is an iconic thing he does. He reads the New York Times as you record, and then because he's just such a genius, he can like be reading the New York Times, and he'll be like, that note was wrong. We're gonna go, and then he'll come over and he'll fix something, and then it's insane. So that happened, and that was like And I was so young. I was like, this, like, how does it get better than this? Like, this is everything to me.
Yeah.
And then that show closed. We actually took the show to LA for a bit. And it was such a great year of my life. It was like about a year and a half with that show. We did 3 separate productions and it was extraordinary. And then from there, I booked a workshop of a new show that was called Big Fish. And we were slated to go to Broadway. And so I did the workshop, and then we moved the workshop. We did it in Chicago for an out of town tryout. And then we moved it to Broadway. And it was one of those shows that was so special to me because unlike Follies, it wasn't a revival. And I was playing a character that had never been done before on stage.
Awesome.
So I got to, oh my gosh. So I got to take, what makes me tick and kind of infuse it into that character. And it was just, it's so special to have that and to record another cast album and to work with the people that I got to work with. Susan Stroman directed and choreographed it, and it was starring Kate Baldwin and Norbert Leo Butz. And it was, it was that show holds a really special place in my heart. And then unfortunately the reviews were not great and we didn't last very long, which was so hard because I feel like whenever you have those casts that the whole cast got along, we loved each other so much. Everyone in that cast was like a family to me. And, not all casts are like that. Sometimes people go their own ways. Yeah, especially when you all live in New York City, everyone has their own lives. But that cast, for some reason, we were like such a unit. And that was a really hard thing when that show closed. I took it very hard. And then I mourned that show for a couple months. And then went into the company of Jersey Boys on Broadway, which was great. My husband had done the original company, so I knew a lot of the people that were still there, and it's just such a cool show to be in because everyone knows Jersey Boys. So that was the last show So that was the last show I did on Broadway. They closed a couple years back now, and then since then, I kind of have been doing a lot more film and TV and like regional shows and summer stock kind of stuff. And then I booked the off-Broadway company revival of Rock of Ages about now like a year and a half ago, and I've been there ever since. So
wow.
Other than doing guest spots on TV and some film stuff, I've been pretty much a theater person. But I've been very lucky, and I'm happy to do what I do, and I'm excited to do what I do. And it's been really tricky right now because we don't know when we're all going to get back to that.
Yeah, definitely. That's such an amazing group of things that you've done. It is.
It's pretty cool. I
bet it's amazing for you, because it's not samey. You've gone from one show that's so different to another.
Yeah, I think of I'm like, oh, I sang in a Sondheim show and now I'm singing 80s rock music every night. Like it's so different. And it's such a great thing that I've been able to kind of go between so many different roles to be able to play like Mother, and then to be able to play Sherrie, to be able to play, I've done like a regional production of Oklahoma, to do like Lori in that, and then to also do like Big Fish. It's really, I love it because I feel like I don't like to get stuck in one thing. And also I love getting to use different parts of my voice.
Yeah.
Because they're all so different, those scores.
Yeah, definitely. Do you find like a type of genre easier than others?
You know what, I will say that I would say that I find like a more contemporary belt show like a Rock of Ages easier than others, because when it came to I remember when I was doing Oklahoma, I had such judgment surrounding that show that I was like, this is an old, tired musical. This character is so one-dimensional, and it's, she's so weak and she's so this. And then when I finally actually did the work, I realized that all the answers were on the page, and actually it's a brilliantly written show. And it's harder in a way because you do have to look for those things, because I think I did come at it with that judgment of, this is, one of those Rodgers and Hammerstein old school shows, and it's a little, it might be, to some people, it might be a little boring, a little old. So it almost challenged me more to look for the actual real human being in that script and in that person, because also we've seen those shows so many times, so you also pass judgment on it because of that, because you're like, oh, I saw this production, and they did this, and it was boring because of this. So I think contemporary shows for me are easier just because I don't have the judgment that I've passed on like some of the older shows.
Yeah.
But I've now learned that a lot of those older shows get revived and come around and are done so much because they hold up and they are so well structured and well written that you
Yeah.
can really dig into them. Yeah.
It's also, I always find easier, like if somebody gives me, like you say, just as a Rock of Ages as example, like it's music that you grew up with, it's music that like you know so well, and like it's as soon as you hear it, it's fun. Whereas like you say, a lot of these classic shows, like you don't hear it and instantly think, oh, that's fun.
Exactly. You're like, yeah, exactly. And it's not as sexy as like a Rock of
Yeah.
Ages. So you're like, you don't immediately gravitate towards it. But then once you do it, at least for me, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm hooked. Like, this is
Yeah,
so
same.
fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So if you could perform anywhere in the world, where would you like to perform?
London.
Yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, my husband did a show there 3 years ago now. And I remember visiting him because I was doing ragtime actually at the time, and I only had like limited amounts of time to come visit him. And I visited him twice, beginning of his rehearsal process, and then towards the end when he closed his show, and then we like traveled through Europe a little bit. And there was something so cool about being in his flat and then getting on the tube and going to see his show and being in the West End. And I love the city, and I think London and New York are very similar because they're so walkable and they're so metropolitan. They have such great things to offer. London has the history. I mean, New York has history for like the states, but London has that like legitimate history there too. And I also think that there's a lot of Broadway people who've kind of gone over and done stints in the West End, and I'm so jealous because I think that would be truly remarkable, and I would love to do a show over. I've seen a couple West End shows, and I can't put my finger on why they're different, but they are. It's different. It's just a different feeling. But we also have a very different sense of humor. So like the sensibility is different as far as the shows, the kind of overall vibe of the show. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, I hope you get to New York at some point and see, because I'd be curious what the main differences are.
Yeah, I know. That's the thing, because a lot of people said that. They were like, I don't actually know why it was different. Like the qualities of the shows were so fantastic equally. So like it wasn't that. It was just when you were sat amongst all these people, it was just different. Whereas if you think like in New York, like a lot of those people would be tourists.
Absolutely. Which is why, I feel like Broadway is going to take a while to come back because people are just not going to be traveling or have, or feel comfortable traveling for a while. Yeah, that's true.
Definitely.
Oh my gosh, I didn't say this when I was giving you my resume, but I totally forgot. I did the tour of An American in Paris, which was on Broadway, and
Amazing.
which I'm such an idiot, which I did with my husband, which was extraordinary. So we got to travel the country together, which was amazing. So, but there was a lot of French spoken in that show. I spoke a little bit of French. And I just, I would love to know French because I feel like there's a certain sophistication, and I just have dreams of like living in Europe and being able to travel.
Yeah.
And then also being able to like speak the languages of the countries I go to.
So we're entering into, you guys call it fall, but we call it autumn here. What's your favorite part of the year?
I think I really like fall. I'm super super pale, so I don't like. I like summer because I am. I mean, actually, I did was it Ancestry.com or 23andMe? I have a lot of Welsh in me, so I'm very like yeah. So I'm very.
Me too. I'm like gray.
I'm just pale as can be. So summer for me is like awesome. Like I love the beautiful weather and I love like going to the beach, but like I don't sit out in the sun because I am pale as can be. So like I don't love summer in that respect. So I really like fall, and I'm a skier, so I really like winter, but the thing about winter is like if there's not snow, I don't like winter. Like I like winter with like beautiful snow, and then if not, I'm like I'm done with you. So I think fall because I just the trees, and I also love like fall foods. I don't know if you guys have like the obsession with the pumpkin spice and like pumpkin apple stuff that the Americans do, but like fall hits and everything is pumpkin. Like you can get pumpkin cookies, you can get pumpkin bread, you can get pumpkin sandwiches. They make pumpkin yogurt. Like everything turns to pumpkin. And I love pumpkin stuff, but like I think it's gone a little overboard. So I love like going apple picking and getting apples, and I think fall's pretty extraordinary. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna say fall. I'm gonna stick with fall.
Amazing. Because you guys have
Yeah.
lots of snow, I guess, like when it's winter.
We do, yeah, we do. Well, I remember there being a lot more snow when I was a kid, but climate change has kind of screwed up our whole, seasons.
Yeah.
So our winter, which used to kind of be kind of October, November through like February, March, is now starting like January and going through like May. Like it snowed in May here last year. I know.
Wow.
I was like, so weird. So strange.
That is weird. We don't get snow very often.
You don't?
No.
Oh.
Maybe like every 3 years, maybe.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't know why I just assumed that like you would get snow.
Yeah, no,
No.
not really. And like when it does snow, like it doesn't really stick. So like last year we had snow, but like it, it snowed.
It doesn't
but
like.
No, it doesn't stick. It's very wet here, like very, very wet. Yeah, I mean, like we've had a good few like summers, but yeah, it's not warm and it's very wet. So I'm selling it to you. I'm selling it to you.
I can't wait. I'm definitely coming.
No, I mean, like, it's such a beautiful place to live, but yeah, the weather is bizarre. It is just bizarre, yeah. And like, yeah, it's just never very warm, and it is always like today it's been torrential, like downpour, like
Oh my gosh.
all the
All
time.
day.
Yeah, yeah. All the time. So if you could be in any Disney film, what would it be, and which character would you play?
Okay.
Do you like Disney films? You might not like them.
Um,
That would be so awkward,
Can you
wouldn't
imagine?
it?
I hate Disney, so and the question is fun. No, I mean no.
I might cry.
Yeah. I wouldn't do that to you. No, we're okay. My husband and I took a vacation from Rock of Ages last year, and we did a little like a cruise ship gig where we were like guest artists, and then the way the week worked out, we like ended the cruise midweek and we docked in Miami. And Matt and I were like, my husband's name is Matt, and we were like, so I don't have to be back to my show until Wednesday, and we have like 4 extra days. We're like, should we go to Disney World? We should go to Disney World. We should go to Disney World. So we go to Disney World like very often. So no, I totally love Disney movies. I grew up on them. That's how, I mean, the first time I ever auditioned for a theatrical show, I sang Part of Your World. So it's so funny. I was gonna say like Ariel because like that was the first one that like really got my heart, and I was like, oh, I love singing that. But I kind of love Meg and Hercules because she's a little bit more like sassy and a little bit more like, I don't need a man, we're good. So she's a little bit wiser in that and a little bit more modern. So I'm gonna say her.
Good shout. Yeah, I love it when people love Disney. Like, I spoke to someone the other day, and he was like, I don't really like Disney, and I was like, sorry, what? He was like, no. I didn't really like that. I was like, part of my soul just died. I was like, oh, no.
I mean, I understand how people could have issues with it, but for me, it was such a outlet, and the musical animated films were what kind of like bridged the gap for me to like fall in love with theater. So no, I'm all into Disney.
So do you have a favorite TV sitcom? Because I mean, like in America, you're like known for your like you guys have like Friends, The Big Bang, like all these like really, really cool. So what is your fave?
Okay, I have 2. One is actually Canadian.
Okay.
If you watch the Emmys this year, it's called Schitt's Creek. It won all of the Emmys. It's hilarious, and I think it's brilliantly written and acted, and it's such a good show. So Schitt's Creek, and then I'm gonna draw back an old school show. It was a show called Happy Endings, and it didn't last very long. It was like on ABC, I think, for 3 or 4 seasons. But it's one of those shows that when I like fall asleep and need like something to kind of be like, I need a little joy in my life before I go to bed. That is my go-to show. I've seen every episode and I continue to watch it. It's such a good show. And gosh, I hope they bring it back because it got canceled. And they're like, there's always been talk that they'll bring it back because it's a brilliant ensemble cast. So it's very much like Friends, where it's like a group of girls and a group of guys who are all friends. And they're such a good ensemble. Like every single person is so good in the show. So it's not just like one star. It's really great. Yeah.
What's that called?
It's called Happy Endings.
I'm gonna have to try and find it because I
Happy Endings. I think it's on Hulu. I think it's on Hulu. It's called Happy Endings. It's it's my kind of comedy.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. So if you could redecorate any room in your house, flat, wherever, what would you do to it to make it like a bit more pizzazz for you?
My bathroom. Yeah. So Matt, my husband, and I bought, after we went on tour with American Paris, we bought an apartment in New York and we love it to death. But it's like a little like, it was probably renovated in like the early 2000s. And now that it's 2020, it's, it needs some like zhuzh. And our bathroom, I want to get in there so bad and just like rip out the tile, put a new tile, do some rearranging. So when one of us books a TV show, we always joke, we're like, we'll redo the bathroom then.
I love it. That's brilliant.
Someday.
That's so funny. Do you have a favorite animal?
I really love sea turtles. I love to snorkel, and I feel like in November I was snorkeling somewhere, and I swam with some sea turtles, and it's just, if you ever swim with them and like look into their eyes, I feel like you can see like the oldest soul that you've ever seen. Like they're so wise and they're so graceful the way that they kind of glide along. So I would say like a sea turtle. Yeah.
Oh, that sounds so lovely. So you've got like so many hobbies. Skiing,
I like to be adventurous as much as I can. And when you're doing a show, you have such little time off. So whenever I do get time off, I feel like I'm like, where are we traveling? What are we doing? Let's get out of the country. Let's do something fun, because if we're lucky enough to book another show, you usually get like maybe 1 or 2 weeks off a year, which is not a lot of time off.
No.
No.
It's not.
No.
You've got to make the most of your time off, definitely.
Yes. Yeah. You got to go real extreme. Yeah.
You have. So, I mean, my last question is kind of in 2 parts. So, what have you been doing during lockdown? And then what's next for you? I'm guessing you're hoping to go back into the show.
Yeah, I'm hoping. Next for me, I have no idea. It's the good thing is, well, let me start with quarantine. So we're still technically kind of all being quarantined. Parts of our country are opening up. There are certain things that are kind of going back to normal, but I mean, we all walk out the door and we're all still in masks and we're all social distancing still. So I'm not really seeing friends. I'm seeing my family. So it's been so strange. But I've done some interesting things in quarantine. I learned how to do waxing myself, which has been very interesting. I know, like sugar wax. So like doing a little armpit waxing and stuff has been interesting.
Wow.
I know, super gross and wonderful. I've been reading. I don't really read. Like I'm not one of those people that has like a book. I like to read the New York Times, and I like to read that on the subway because I have a pretty long commute to go from my apartment to downtown into Times Square, where all the shows are. And sometimes it can be like a half hour, 45 minutes. If you get the right train, it's like 20 minutes. But sometimes you're sitting there for a while. So I like to read the New York Times. That's like my jam. But I've not been getting the New York Times here, and I also don't sit on the subway. So I decided to pick up a book. It's called a book. It's like a thing that's bound. It has like pages in it. I was like, this is thing. People are like, you should read a book. So I've been reading books, which has been fabulous. I've read like 6 or 7 books, which to me, I usually would read like a book a year on my summer vacation.
Same.
And that would be it. Yeah, I'm like so not an avid reader. So that's been exciting. And I've also been kind of cooking a lot. And I try to teach myself how to play the piano. I kind of stopped doing it because my nephews were coming around a lot, and they every time I'd start to practice, they were like, bang, 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 bang. And so I gave it a break. And I haven't really gone back to it, which I probably should have all the time now.
Yeah.
I've been trying to do little things, but then I'm also trying to just be kind to myself, because a lot of people are like I've talked to a lot of my friends, and they're almost getting anxious now because they're like, all these people are like starting companies and like inventing things, and like I'm sitting on my couch, and I'm like, it's fine. Like it's everyone, like I feel like I've done some really cool things, but I've also given myself some time for some self-care, because when you're in a show 8 times a week, you get one day off, and usually that day off, at least with like shows like Rock of Ages, where it's such a physical show, that one day off, I need to give my body the day to like heal. I need to give my voice the day to like rest, and I need to like turn my mind off. So on that one day off, you're not really doing anything adventurous. You're not really trying to start something new. You're just trying to like conserve and like recharge your batteries so you can go right into another week.
Exactly.
So I'm really enjoying just the time to give myself a little self-care and just to chill. And then from here, I don't know what's gonna happen. I mean, I have friends. I have so many friends. I mean, all of our friends are basically in the same business that we are in, and everyone is so uncertain because people have heard, oh, we'll go back in May 2021. People have heard we'll go back January 2021, but then I've heard other people that kind of are much more in the know, and they're saying September 2021, which is a whole other year from now, which is, I know when you hear that, you're like, oh my gosh. So film and TV is starting to pick up. So like I have been auditioning, which is great. So that's been keeping me busy. I'm taking an acting class right now, so I have that to kind of keep my tools sharp. But I don't really know. I really don't know what the future holds. And I wish I could say that I know I have a back to work start date, but I don't. And I don't think anyone in our business does right now. So I'm just going to kind of, as much as I can, be calm about it and just kind of know that whatever happens, I will find my place in whatever the new theater realm looks like.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. Like everybody is panicking about it. It is a big panic because, like even if you're in between jobs, there's something else coming up, and somebody's going to contact you and say, can you come and read for this, or can you come and whereas because there's none of that, it's like it's very easy to get freaked out by it and go, oh my God, like what am I doing with myself? Like what's happening? But I think everyone's in the same boat. There's nobody is like, oh well, I know exactly what I'm doing. I know.
Yeah, nobody knows that. And yes, people are doing a lot of like online concerts and trying to like keep themselves busy, but no one I know has a show coming up, a start date, an audition for another Broadway show. Like there's none of that happening right now. So it is kind of, I've told myself that a lot. I'm like, everyone's in the same boat. That's been a very calming thing for me, because I know that like our community, we're all like mourning together, and we're all, we're all in this together. So if it allows me to calm down a little bit when I start to kind of like worry about the future.
Yeah, and also like along the journey that you've already taken, there's bound to have been moments where you felt similarly, like where you felt like, oh God, I don't know what I'm doing, or like, I don't know whether I'm in the right place here, or like what. So although this is kind of a prolonged period of time, it's still kind of like you've made your journey to where you are now, so you're going to get out the other end.
And that's so true when there's not a pandemic and you're between shows, there is a little bit of panic, because you're auditioning, which is hard, and you're waiting for the next thing, and you don't know if that next thing is 2 weeks away, 6 months away, or 2 years away. And so but the difference between that experience and right now with the pandemic is you at least had the hope before that you knew that there were jobs out there that were attainable. And right now you're like, there's nothing going on. So in a weird way, I almost can be a little bit calmer because there is nothing going on. So I don't feel like I'm missing out on anything. I don't feel like there's anything I need to be putting my energy towards at this immediate moment. So it's like, it's a different kind of like unsettling feeling. But it's just been so strange. Yeah.
Who knows when we're going to be able to do a stage production?
Oh gosh, that's so hard. So what kind of classes are you doing at your Saturday school that you were able to reopen?
So it's our musical theatre school. So we do drama, dance, and singing. The only thing that we can't do the singing though.
Yeah, because it's so.
Yeah. So it was tough because when I was like, okay, so that's why I wrote the prequel. So it's just drama. So the kids love all that. They love the acting and stuff. But they said to me last week, we're really missing the singing, like really, really missing music. So I was like, right, we need to do something music based. So I learnt sign language a few years ago, and we're now sign singing.
I love that. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, that's phenomenal.
Yeah, and
That's
I
fantastic.
said to them, I was like, look, it's really, really tricky. Like I said, I learnt the basics years ago, but to be able to do it whilst like miming to a song, it's so hard because you've got the rhythm and like it's quicker in some places and it's really tough. And they were like, no, we really want to do it. We really, really want to. Like I said, they're phenomenal. Like they'll just throw themselves into anything. And yeah, in last week's 2-hour session, they'd got the chorus down, done, sorted. It was like, what? I know.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so brilliant.
So we're going to do that this term. I'm going to teach them a few songs in sign rather than singing, and then we'll go from there.
That's what a brilliant idea. So they can still be involved musically and kind of be in that mindset without, doing the scary
and
singing.
Exactly. And one of our students, she's been with me for 3 years because that's how long the company's been going. And she's 12, and she said to me, like, obviously we were performing and rehearsing it, and she was like, "This is amazing, Jen. Like, I actually feel like we're performing again." And that, like, for me was just like, oh, I had like a lump. I was like,
Well done, you.
But it's the thing, like you forget how much it affects them. As adults, you think like, oh my God, this is really tough. Like in 25 years, I've never experienced anything like this. These kids are like 10, and you're just like, how heartbreaking is it for them, like to have not seen their pals, to not being able to do what they want. So when we reopened, like parents were like, yes, go.
Thank you. I know. Because as adults, I feel like we can compartmentalize the sadness and the frustration of like not being able to perform. And we can kind of be like, okay, and be like, I see you and I understand and I'm frustrated, but like I need to move on. But as kids, like that can be an overwhelming emotional state to kind of be in, like of this, who knows when they'll get back to doing what they love. It's
yeah, you just got to do what you've got to do and try and make the best out of such a shockingly awful situation.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, in that sense, thank you so much.
Oh my gosh, it was so nice to chat with you. Thank you so much for having me.
No
really
worries at all. And thank you so much for saying yes. I mean, all the way over practically the other side of the world.
It's so funny. My husband was Skyping with some people from London earlier today, and I was like, oh my gosh, we're both like casting across the sea today. Yeah.
That's amazing. We've been able to do it without having to leave our homes. Like
that's kind of cool. I do think that's people are connecting in a different way. So
yeah, and it's amazing because like you get to speak to people that you've never even heard of, like you'd never even think that you'd meet otherwise, and I love that.
I love that you reached out. So thank you. It was so cool. Really.
Thank you so much for saying yes, and I'll send you the link when it goes up on the channel. I'd
Amazing.
love to stay in touch.
I would love that. Thank you so much, and best of luck with your kids. I think I'm so glad they're very lucky to have you. Yeah.
Thank you. Well, I mean, we can always try and hook something up. Like we've got loads of stuff coming up, so like we could see if we can Skype you and have like a little session or something. Let's do it.
Yeah, I'm here. I have loads of time right now.
Amazing. And that's the thing, when you've got like, a little bit of money and a little bit of time, like marry it together and it just works. I mean, you can help each other out, and I think that's so important.
I agree. Yeah. Theater artists, we love helping each other because it's like such a community and such a collaborative form. Yeah.
It is. Well, you're a star. Thank you so much, and take care and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. You too. Thank you so much, Jen.
Speak to you soon.
Right.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for a fantastic chat, Kirsten, and all the very best for the future. Good luck. Loads more guests are to come. We're edging our way in to Christmas Town. I mean, like I say, it's middle of November and I've got a sparkly jumper on. Hold on to your hats, watch this space for the Christmas madness. And I think what's worse is that when you see it, it's going to look fine, it's going to look very Christmassy and festive, but when I chat with my guests in October and I'm wearing Christmas jumpers, I think they're going to think I'm a bit loopy. Ow! Take care, and I'll see you again soon for some more amazing guests. That was a lovely